Welcome to the Gridiron Insight. I'm your host, Marcus Dent. I got my sidekick, Mikhail Stevens, and we got a hot topic. For you today, guys. Before we go any further, guys, hit that like button and subscribe. That'll help us out a whole lot. Mikhail, what's going on?
You got it, man. You got it. If I had your hands, I cut mine off.
I tell you what, man, it's been crazy today, man. It's been crazy in this what we call a football world, man. Matthew Sluka, UNLV quarterback, has played 3 games, and man, they hadn't been out to a start like this in a long time. And he threw up the deuces. This is what we got right now in college football, man. He said he was promised something, a certain amount of money. He didn't get it, and he bounced. So man, what's your thoughts on that, man? We're gonna jump right in it, man. What's your thoughts on that?
That's a double-edged sword. Everybody want their money now, right?
That's correct.
And apparently, the kid is taking a gamble on himself. Apparently, UNLV made some promises and they didn't come through. They must have had a gentleman's shake. They having a great season so far, and now he's not getting what he was probably promised, and he's betting on himself. I'm hoping he has a landing spot where he can at least get what he's been promised. But it's definitely embarrassing to UNLV being in Las Vegas with all the money around there.
Not only that, man, his running back has also done the same thing.
Saw that.
So his running back has done the same thing. Mississippi State has 2 kids that just did that today. So is this going to be a trend if they don't pay these kids? I mean, something's got to give. This is one of the reasons I think that Nick Saban got out of the game, because it's going to get messy.
It's past messy at this point.
Yeah, man, it's going to get really bad. You got to think about it. There's so many variables out there now that these kids have options. And you can't just hold them down. But at the same time, you got the fans that's talking about there's no loyalty. Now, I don't know if something was on paper. You got some people reporting from 24/7 Sports. I think Carl Reed said something about his sources, said that he was paid what he was supposed to be paid. And he went and hired an agent. His family hired an agent and say, hey, he's worth more than that. And they went to the school, and the school was like, I'm not doing it.
Well, if that's the case, the kid is taking a gamble. And you and I are old school.
All right.
You sit there, if you made a deal, you sit there, you stick it out. But to just abruptly leave a program, that's a sticky situation, because I want to know what school is going to pick him up if he's done that.
Man, today's college sports is not like yesterday's. Somebody's going to give him a shot, because you got to think about this. If he just up and did that, 9 times out of 10, high-profile athletes, when they hit the portal, they have already talked to somebody, and they pretty much know where they're going. I guarantee you he has a pretty good idea where he's going to go. And that's what we're faced with right now in this recruiting game, man. It's, this show is the Gridiron Insight. We want to give you the good, the bad, the ugly when it comes to recruiting. But this is something that goes along inside the recruiting, because if you're a P4 guy and you don't get this stuff on paper, the school can come back and say, hey, it's not on paper. It was a handshake.
Well, we all know it's no oversight currently. And these type of instances will probably lead to some type of legislation in the near future, you would think.
And I hope it does, because we need guardrails in this thing. We don't have guardrails right now. The only thing we have is, give me, I'm gone. That's what we have right now. And I know that the schools is looking like, man, what are we going to do? And the kids are looking like, hey, for years you had these kids in a box. You had these kids trapped. But as my uncle will say, it ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun. And that's what has happened right now. These kids, they holding all the ammunition.
Well, I don't want to put it all on the kids because a lot of these kids don't have any money. And
that's true.
When they get that opportunity and adults are promising things and not coming through with those promises, that's going to lead to some problems. So,
you're absolutely right. I don't mean to cut you off, but you got to think about this. This kid is probably not going to the NFL, right? So he's trying to maximize on that money that he can get right now because it's not promised to him next year or the year after that.
Correct.
So that's what he's doing, in my opinion. And that's what a lot of these kids are doing. Okay, I'm going to get mine right now because you got to look at it. P4 football has turned into the minor league for professional football. Because you look at the revenue that is made, you look at the what the kids have to put into it, from 4:30 in the morning, getting up at 4:30, to not getting into bed till 9 or 10 o'clock, from study hall to practice to lifting weights to film. Man, that's a job.
Well, believe it or not, for most of these athletes, it became a job in high school.
Yeah.
You figure a kid started at 6, 7 years old, around his 10th or 11th grade year, he's been doing it over 10 years. That sounds like a job to me.
Yeah, it is, but it becomes a different monster when that cell phone wakes you up to go to breakfast. You got to sign in at breakfast. They checking your study hall. They checking your everything that you do. They got an app on that phone where they can tell where you at all times. I mean, it's a pretty stressful thing for a kid coming straight out of high school. And once you get a hang to what's going on and how everything flows, then you're pretty much good with it. But man, I'm telling you right now, it's a lot goes into it. And I don't know, like I said, I don't know the kid's financial situation, but I'm looking at the kids at Mississippi State. Why did they opt out? Are they just saying, hey, look, man, I'm not doing this. We're losing. I don't want to lose a year. So, I mean, what do you think about the two kids from Mississippi State opting out, decide not to play the rest of the year?
Man, that's a sticky situation because Mississippi State has got a lot of in-house. They got to look at themselves in the mirror and decide, are they just happy belonging, or do they want to truly compete? And
I agree.
A lot of kids want to compete. And if you're an SEC team and you're Mississippi State, and from what I'm understanding, they just got $8 million donated from an anonymous donor, you better start investing that money.
How much of that money is going to go to the football program? If you look at, I'm going to tell you one of the schools that I see that is doing it big money-wise. I don't know about how the structure is or anything, is Ole Miss. They're raising the money, and they're getting the kids because they're raising the money to go get the athletes that they need.
Well, Ole Miss, they're aligned with a coach who's been there, done that. He's been a part of big programs, and he understands what it takes.
Yeah, he does. He does.
And you got to give credit to Ole Miss and their alum that they're backing this coach up. And they want to win. They've made that decision to say, look, we want to be one of the best teams in the country.
100%. 100%.
They rank number 6.
100%. They're there. They're there. They have everything it takes to win it because they went out and say, you know what? This is what we want. They went to their alumni. They went to the collective, Grow Collective. They say, this is what we want to do to get Ole Miss football at the top, and they done it. They've done it without having a top 10 high school recruiting team. They wasn't in the top 10 last year or the year before that. But yet and still they sit at 5 or 6 right now.
Right.
So something about what they're doing over there is right. It might not be for everybody, but something is going on. Now, the only downside on that is every year the portal might not be that fruitful. So you might not be able to get the same type kids that you got out the portal year 4 last. That's the only downfall I see. But I think state has to make an investment into the program, and I'm not saying that they haven't, but something is definitely not right.
Well, I would say on the high school level, as far as recruiting in state, they are very aggressive.
They're very aggressive. They're very aggressive. Yeah, they're very aggressive.
That part of it is strong, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Outside of that, maybe going into the portal, that they're not doing that at all, basically.
Well, here's my take on Ohio State. Let's say Oklahoma. Let's say Miami. If you go back and look at the top recruiting classes, those schools are going to be in the top, right? They're going to be in the top. So they have athletes. They have athletes at those schools. Mississippi State, the way the makeup is right now, I don't think they have time to do with Oklahoma and Miami I think they have to go to the portal and get kids. And you have to make sure you lock these kids up and you don't have a situation that happened at UNLV because they don't have time. They're too far back to go and say, I'm going to do this the high school way and you're in the SEC. You can't do that. Unless you've been doing this stacking players for the last 3 or 4 years, they're not going to have time to stack enough players to be competitive.
Well,
I just think it's a. Say what now?
With the schedule that Mississippi State has, it's about to get rough.
Oh, it's about to get ugly. It's about to get ugly, my man. And like I say, Lane has found a niche. With his dad being in the NFL for all those years, he run the program similar to an NFL type program. Is that going to work 3 years from now when something else changes? I don't know. But I'm not saying Mississippi State has to copy what they're doing at Ole Miss, but they have to do something. They have to make, as the youngsters say, they got to make something shake, man.
Well, that starts internally. They have to define what the business plan is, and they need to attack it aggressively. They do have a new coach.
Much respect for Coach Lev. Much respect for Coach Lev.
And one thing, the bright light I do see is the active recruiting of in-state students from the high school ranks. Right. However, the portal is where you might want to start, but what I've witnessed at Ole Miss is they attack the portal, and now they're backfilling with high school kids. So
they're doing. It's like almost like they're working in reverse, but like I say, hey, if it's working, it's working.
It's a good recipe.
Yeah.
You probably portal 70, 80% first year, and then you probably down to about 65, and the other percent is going to high school, and then before you know it, you backfilling and you low.
Yeah, correct. I got you on that. Yeah, definitely. So there's a lot of different things to go into what happened with Matthew Sluka. I just think a place like UNLV wasn't ready for that. I just, because, this kid played FCS football, actually. Was it Holy Cross or someone like that?
Mm-hmm.
He played, FCS football. What happened the last day or so, I just don't think they was ready for it.
Well, of course they're not ready. The leadership they're moving into a new conference, right?
Right.
You have teams defecting that conference, going to the Pac-12, and now you're stuck holding the bag debating, do you really want to be in this new conference, or do you want to jump ship and go to the Pac-12? So it's a lot going on just with the leadership deciding what conference they want to belong to.
Yeah, man, it's a lot going on with them. I wouldn't want to be in their shoes at all, And how does this affect recruiting? So now, you 3-0, your starting quarterback is gone. One of your top running back is gone. And if you look at it, if they win out, man, they have a chance to get one of those G5 spots in the playoffs. So there was a lot on the line for UNLV to say, we're not going to pay you.
Why they didn't make it right? Why did they let this even go public?
Yeah, I mean, that's something. I mean, if it was $100,000, like they say, man, they could have came up with $100,000.
Oh, that's sitting at a slot machine in Vegas.
I mean, they could have came up with $100,000. You can't tell me that they couldn't have came up with $100,000, but I think it was like, like you're not gonna bluff me. You're not gonna leave. You're not gonna go. I think they say, hey, we're gonna take our chances. He'll be back. He'll be back tomorrow.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out and to see where these student athletes end up playing, if they find somewhere to play or if they don't already have somewhere in mind.
Yeah, I think definitely he has somewhere in mind to go. And that just brings me to the point right now of kids that are in high school and they're looking at this. I'm thinking, what are they thinking now? Okay, I can go if the coach don't treat me right or I don't get what I'm supposed to get, I can walk. So if nothing is done about this situation, man, you're going to create a monster. You're going to create a monster. And then you're going to, okay, let's say you do this. Let's say you get a freshman in and you promise him $50,000. You pay him the $50,000. And he goes up and get an agent like this guy did and say, man, you're worth more than that. You're worth about 250 right now. Your numbers say that, you're leading the country in this category. You're number 3 in this category. Let's go to him and see can we make that 150,000.
So you got to be careful with that as well, because now you're talking about performance based, right?
Yeah.
So what happens next year when that kid doesn't perform?
Correct.
Is it a pay cut?
Well, they can do that. It's a year-to-year basis at most schools. So if you're not performing and they turn around and say, okay, you only rushed for 700 yards last year and your production has dropped to 500, man, we're gonna drop your money. So that's what I'm saying right now. I think this leads to some federal regulations. Some guardrails have to be laid down. They have to be put up to protect the kid, to protect the school, and protect college football.
I think at the end of the day, I think UNLV dropped the ball.
I do too. I really think they dropped the ball. But you can look at it like this. You can say, you got me. You got me. You got me. You got me good. But guess what? The next one won't get me. We're going to go ahead and pay this joker this money. We're going to give him this money now. But guess what? The next joker come through like this, we know what to do.
But wow, how you not take care of your quarterback and your running back?
Man, that's tough.
Man.
That's tough, man. You playing in the Raiders stadium. I've been to that stadium. Matter of fact, last summer before last, I took a tour of that stadium and they showed you how they roll out one field and roll in another field. It's beautiful, man. So I know they got the money to do it, although it's the Raiders stadium. But man, they just playing there pretty much rent free.
Oh, they got plenty of resources. They have their own locker room. They got
Right.
facilities.
Yeah, they got nice stuff, man.
You would think UNLV was headed to the Pac-12 before it dissolved because
Yes.
of the facilities. And then, you know, you got a high school right down the street
Bishop
with Bishop
Gorman.
Gorman. I
Yeah.
mean, you would think they're trying to get those kids and, build up to have a pipeline. But you're not going to have it this day and age and not give these kids their money.
No, it's not. It's not going to happen. Like you said, at the end of the day, I think they dropped the ball on that, and I think right now, eyes of college football is on what happens there, and I'm suspecting before the year is out, or maybe before this week is out, somebody else is going to do it because it's four. I mean, this is the fourth game. You might have somebody that have a bye week has only played 3 games, but I don't think this is the last of it.
Oh, no.
I don't think this is the last of it.
There's some quarterbacks that are down now. And this guy might be in a different uniform by the end of the week.
Well, I mean, he'll have to finish out the school year.
Right.
He'll have to finish out the school year, but definitely December. Oh, man, it's somebody that will get him.
Well, he's playing the money game.
He's playing the money game.
I'm a little old school. I'm off to a 3-0 start. I think I might want to finish playing for the love of the game.
Well, see, after this is it for him. He doesn't have another year coming up. So he said, you know what? It's almost like I went to UNLV to showcase my talent, to show the Big 12, the Big 10, the ACC, the SEC, what I'm capable of. And now that I have done that for 3 games and my ratings are up here, next year I can come in and get some money. But, that kid, will he be kind of a rotten apple in the locker room? I mean, how would that – you have to be a program that's really needing somebody to really go get this kid.
Oh, definitely.
You have to be a coach that's –
It's got to be a culture fit, definitely.
Yeah, it's got to be – but you got to be a coach that's – look, if I don't win, if I don't get a quarterback, I'm going to lose my job. So I don't have anything to lose.
Yeah.
Well,
he'd be hard-pressed to get in the Big 10 or the SEC.
Yeah, I mean, you never know what the situation is. Like Mississippi State, they're down a quarterback right now. They lost their starter. Now they're dependent on a true freshman, which I can't talk a whole lot about. We're starting a true freshman at Auburn, but the situation is different. The starter got benched at Oklahoma. But, that's a tough situation, man, to be in at a university when you're having the best season that you done had in over a couple of decades. And you let him walk out the room? Oh man, that's tough.
Yeah, you didn't even buy any time.
No.
So, hey, at least let me put something together, or we'll meet you halfway or something. I mean, that was pretty quick.
That's pretty quick.
This may have been something that's been ongoing from the start of the season or from week 1 or 2. Who knows?
Might have been something that, hey, they told him after week 2 or week 1, like, hey, look, man, if this thing goes the way we think it's gonna go, y'all might need to saddle up, get them saddlebags, the money bags right.
Thanks.
You see what I'm saying? And they're like, oh, he's not going to do anything. But like I say, man, you have programs that's struggling like Mississippi State, and you got kids opting out, man. That's hard on a coach when he just lost his starting quarterback, and then you got a backup receiver, decides to leave. And I don't know who the other kid was, but, man, that has to be a tough situation on Coach Leb.
It's a tough situation, but here's the difference with Mississippi State. They play in the SEC. They have a fan base. They have alumni. Who doesn't want to play in the SEC? So as far as I know, the recruiting on the high school level is going good. Like I stated earlier, But they're gonna have to break bread, and they're gonna have to get in that portal and make things happen expeditiously with the quickness. And before you know it, they'll be competing.
Well, you brung a coach in who has been at Ole Miss, who has been at Central Florida when they went undefeated, has been at Baylor when they were really good on the art. He knows what he's doing. You know, my biggest concern is, will they get the athletes in time enough, and will they give him time enough to win? Now, the AD is there. You know, he's an Oklahoma guy too. And I think he will. But, man, you know, fan bases are brutal, man. They're brutal, man. They will eat you up and spit you out, man. I've been listening to some of this OU podcast and some of the fan base, man. I'm gonna tell you, they 3-1, and you will swear up and down they're 0-4.
Well, Oklahoma and Mississippi State has two different type of standards. Oklahoma has a national championship standard.
Seven of them to be exact.
And Oklahoma is a place where 10 games may not be enough.
Yeah.
You know, 9 games is definitely not enough.
But 9 games is frowned upon. 10 games is they okay with it as long as you make the playoffs. So now you have a different scenario with this playoff coming in. And let's talk about that just a little bit. Has UNLV thrown away their chances to the college playoff, letting Matthew walk?
Well, it'll be determined by a backup quarterback. We'll definitely see. They may have something better behind them. You never know.
That's true. That's something that, you know, we won't know until Saturday.
Next man up.
Next man up. I mean, if the quarterback comes out and he plays well and they continue to win, Matthew, it's not going to be good for you, son.
Right, because UNLV is taking that gamble.
Yeah, they're going to say, well, it was the system. It wasn't you. So now your opportunities has just went down the tube. So, you know, like you say, it's a gamble, man. It's a straight up gamble. And I just want the parents to understand, from junior college all the way to 4-year schools, P4 schools, make sure you, as Beast Mode would say, make sure you handle your chickens. You see what I'm saying? Because I'm going to give you something that's very minute, but people don't think about this, and it's about money. You take a kid that's going to an FCS, and the coach come in and say, hey, look, we like him. We're going to give him a full ride. And this kid look up, and he get a full ride, and he qualified for Pell. 49% of all athletes qualify for some type of Pell Grant. So he looks up, and he see his Pell was $6,400 added to his scholarship. He don't get any money at the end of the year because they use that Pell to combine with his scholarship to make him have a full scholarship. Now, it's just about understanding right now. So if I go to you and I say, hey, coach, my kid is going to qualify for full Pell. I want to make sure he gets that Pell. If y'all going to give him a full athletic scholarship, I want the whole thing. I don't want you guys to take his Pell. That way, their son can get that $6,000 in his pocket at the end of the year. You have to be upfront, and you have to know to be able to tell somebody this. Right. If you don't know, you can't tell a coach this, because if you don't know, they're going like, hey, they don't know about that. So you come to him and say, look, man, okay, you want him to come play? I'm using Central Arkansas because they're FCS. And say, coach, I make under $50,000 as a household, and I think that's what it is, under $50,000. And I say, I want to make sure Junior gets all of his money. And if you guys are not going to give him all athletic money, then we're going to go to Grambling because they're going to give him all athletic money, and that $6,000 is pale, he's going to be able to put in his pocket. So being upfront, knowing what you have from the get-go, it's just not in the P4s. It's in the FCS and JUCO. You understand what I'm saying?
What you're leading to is what a lot of universities are going to have to do for their student athletes, and that's financial literacy.
That's correct.
And break it all the way down.
Break it all the way down.
You know, when I was in school, man, I couldn't wait to get that money.
Unfortunately, man, I didn't qualify for it, and I would be sitting on the steps, man, when those guys come by with those big checks.
Oh man,
they be, hey, look, heading straight to Jackson to the Gap, man, and going to buy the Jabos, and man, I'm sitting here looking like, man, golly.
Hey man, that was my lifeline.
And here's the deal: the school makes sure that this kid, they might use Pell for his to finish up his, for a scholarship, but this is one of our best players, and we got to have him. So guess what? We're not going to take all of his Pell. We're just going to take out of the 6,000. We're just going to take 1,800. And then let him get the rest of that as a refund. And that's what we used to call them back in the day, refund checks. Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying, even back to the collective, we can go to FCS and D2 and junior college, make sure you got everything buttoned up. Everything buttoned up, because there's ways that your kid in JUCO and D2 and in FCS that your kid can actually generate some funds, what is it, academic funds? Sometimes they take the academic and they put it with the scholarship. And yeah, you're going to school for free, but you're not on a full athletic scholarship. That they're giving you a twofold type deal. If they gave you a full scholarship like they told your parents they were going to do, because if nobody, junior college, FCS, nobody's going back looking at the paperwork as long as their kid is going to school for free.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So nobody's really going back looking at the paperwork.
But again, it's not until you see those guys walking around with the refund checks, you start to deep dive into what your situation is, wondering why is money going here and here, and I'm on a full scholarship.
Correct. So
now you're marching in the coach's office.
Oh man, you want to know. You want to know what's going on. Right. And the first thing they're gonna do, and the kids don't understand, they're like, hey, well, your parents make too much for you to get that check. And that's just a check that the government gives kids that parents make under, $50,000. And you say, okay, you going about your business. But not realizing that, hold on, my parents, nah, man, I should be getting one of them checks. Then you go back in there and they got something else to tell you. And if a kid doesn't know and he doesn't have that literature in front of him, they can just tell you anything.
Yeah, and it has to be broken down, not just to the student, but to the parents as well. So it's clarity, and it's I should have got this. And what's going on is everybody's learning, and the game and the finances is all changing in real time, right?
Changing in real time in front of us. You have a lot of schools, colleges are going to a general manager. Right. Going to a general manager, man. When in the world would have ever thought that colleges will have a freaking general manager?
Man, they need it.
It's just so much going on.
The analysts, they need all of that because it's big business.
It's big business, man. It's big business. And the thing about it is, man, we just got to sit back and just listen. My granddad always told me, he said, son, sometimes you don't open your mouth, just sit back and listen. And if you sit back and listen sometimes you'll find out some things that, if you ask questions, somebody wouldn't even tell you. And I just think some of these parents, when you go to these places, listen to what they're saying and then start thinking about it. And then go back, start doing your research and kind of find out what's actually the best situation, to help your kid. And I think right now, man, with this stuff happening with Matthew Sluka, it's going to be a different mindset. So how many colleges out there right now saying, hold up, we can't let that happen to us?
Oh, it's a bunch of them.
It's a bunch of them. And I know some colleges, I know I'm not going to call any names, but I know what they are doing. They're doing assessments. They're doing quarterly assessments of the kids and bringing the kids in and say, hey, look, this is what we think you are. This is the money that we think we're going to give you next year or after the semester is over with, because they want to keep the kids that they have. And it's something like, hey, you might have a kid he's not doing so good, or he's not progressing. And they say, hey, look, we think your bottom line is 30,000. And we feel like if you can get 30,000 somewhere else, you need to take that and go and run with it. That's what colleges are doing now.
Well, should a student athlete negotiate that, or should a student athlete have his agent negotiate that?
You got me.
And I'm just being the devil's advocate.
You got me.
Is a student athlete equipped to understand what he's negotiating or what his value is worth?
Man,
or what scoring 10 touchdowns is. How much does that equate to? Man,
I'm going to tell you, you have stepped into it, because a 19-year-old trying to negotiate that, dude, you pretty much, it just all depends on where you at and what the money is, what the money is.
Even a student athlete negotiating that with parents who has probably no knowledge of what's going on. You may need a agent for those back channels, for those relationships that you're unaware of that may exist with that agent who could possibly get you more than what you're asking.
But let me do this. In college football, you don't know what the guy beside you is making. You see what I'm saying?
Right. But I know if you're a tackle on that left side, I know you're expecting some money, because if that quarterback is getting paid, you want money too.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I mean, in the NFL, you can pull up somebody's salary and know, okay, he's making this. See, you can have an advisor in college. You can't have an agent, but you can have an advisor.
Well,
advisors are nothing but agents. So it's the same thing.
And see, what we're eventually leading to is a situation of the have and have-nots, right? UNLV is a university, is really a have-not financially. The Big Ten, the SEC, and some of the ACC teams, these are the schools who can afford these resources and already have these things probably in place. And I can see even a bigger shakeup of maybe these universities separating from the P4.
Oh, that's in the work. It's about 45 teams from what they're looking at right now. There's going to be, and it's only going to be college football. Everything else will stay the same. And you're talking about 40 teams across the country forming their own league, having their own championship, and being able to pay kids a salary similar to being in the NFL.
Wow.
So that's already in the works right now. And that's what the NCAA is trying to stop. They don't want that to happen. But if they're going to stop it, they need to get with the federal government and say, look, can you help us with this? Because like I say, you got a kid that's playing right beside another kid. He don't know what he's making, so he don't know really what to ask for. If I knew the kid beside me was making 50,000 and the other kid beside me is making 45 and this kid is making 60, I can pretty much know my worth, but you don't know what that kid is making. So guess what? Now it's the wild, wild west. You go in there and ask for $200,000 because you feel like that's what you worth.
And again, for a lot of these universities, those type of salaries are not sustainable.
No.
When you add the TV money that the SEC and the Big Ten is getting, what the Big Ten and the SEC is like 80 million, 100 million each school right there.
Each school is getting bukus of money just off the TV deals. That's not including, your ticket sales or your merchandise. That's not including what they're making.
Right. So
they make enough money to pay every kid on their team $1 million.
Right. And Tennessee added a 10% hike on their tickets for their football players.
Guess what? They're winning. Nobody's going to say anything. Nobody's going to say a word.
In a 100,000 seat stadium.
101. 101. So what I'm looking at, man, hey, look, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I'm going to bring a little good news along with the bad news. NCAA, y'all got to do something, man, because right now, these kids, hey, they running the asylum, bro.
The NCAA can't do nothing. They don't have any power no more.
Right.
Not like when we were playing.
Right. And a lot of that power was, man, it was just, they just kind of came in and laid the law down and everybody was kind of, woo, NCAA. But now, man, these schools are not scared of that. Mm-mm. Look what Tennessee did to them. What was this summer or last summer when the kid, something about one of the kids transferred or something? It was something, but they won.
Yep. So,
look, man, we done put something on your brain, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So, man, look, bro, we're going to get ready to get out of here, man. But look, I'm going to say this before I close. I'm going to let you have your say. Parents, make sure you know what you're getting into. If you don't know and you can't understand what's going on around you, contact somebody. Contact somebody that knows or you think might know and find out as much information as you can, because this thing here is going to get sticky. It's going to get messy. And you want to be prepared. You don't want to be in a situation like this with your kid.
All right. And don't be afraid. Like a friend told me, don't be afraid to ask the tough questions.
Tough questions, man.
You got to ask the tough questions, and you can't ignore the elephant in the room.
That is correct. Well, look, I know you guys out there right now listening to this, man. Drop your comments down below. Hey, I'll get back to you, man, as soon as possible. Hey, appreciate it, Markel.
Peace out.
Peace out.